That's good, alhamdulillah. Alright, so that's how it should be. That if you come, inshallah, to come to gain knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the deen of Allah and to be enlightened by the sunnah nabawiyyah, al-Haddad nabawiyyah, it's called, the guidance of the Prophet of Allah sallallahu the point of it isn't just to come to the class and take the notes and close it up in the book and that's it, it's gone. The point of it is for one to implement it in one's life. So the reason why we need to understand the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is so we can understand Allah. And the reason we need to understand the deen, that's why it's called fiqh, understanding, comprehension, is so that we can apply it in our lives. One of the things that I'm experiencing, particularly between married couples, is that neither of them know their rights or their obligations. They're all, mashallah, you look at them and say, man, these people are awliya. These people are, ulama, even scholars, they're walis, awliya, the friends of Allah. The way they dress, the way they act, no TVs in their house, no music, no this, but they don't know anything about the deen. They're backbiting each other, backbiting everyone, just normal conversation. They're suspicious of each other. They're actually looking at each other's phones, getting the passwords or whatever. What are they, hacking it or whatever they call it? All that's haram. All that's haram. So the thing about knowledge is not just to say that, oh yeah, I'll go to class, I've been going to class, and I've been learning out of that book, and I've been learning from that sheikh for the last 5, 7, 8, 10 years. The point is to bring it into one's life. And if one can't embody it, that means one hasn't understood it. So in other words, if a person sits and seeks knowledge and tries to understand knowledge, and they're not applying it in their life, that means that knowledge is a hujja alayya wa alayha. That means that knowledge on the day of judgment is going to come and say, Ya Allah, this person sat in that class, that person got that knowledge, but they never implemented it in their lives. So that's the burden of the ulama. That's the burden of the educated people. That's the burden of the people who are not ignorant, to apply the knowledge they have. And that's why it's called al-ilm al-nafi'. Al-ilm al-nafi'. The beneficial knowledge. When is it beneficial? When it's practiced in the first instance, and in the second instance when it's propagated, when you teach somebody else. So it's up to each and every single one of us that if we're going to be a seeker of knowledge, inshallah, if we're going to have that intention and that aptitude in terms of seeking nearness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it has to be a consistent thing. It has to be something that becomes part of who we are. It's not something that we do. It's not something that we do. It becomes who we are. And that's the goal we're trying to achieve. That's the level bi'idhnillah azza wa jal, so that it becomes who we are. We become that thing that Allah loves. We become that, the way is an adventure and the way, in other words, reaching Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that there's investigation, the investigations that one makes on the path. In other words, the things that one goes through, the experiences, the trials, if you want to call them, the tests, if you want to call them, those things are the actual things that get us close to Allah. And without the knowledge and the application of that knowledge, unfortunately, the test will be failed. Particularly when one has already been exposed to that knowledge. It's not just good enough. Alhamdulillah, it's good to be a talib ilm. Alhamdulillah, it's good to be a person who's got a sayyid, who's got a path to Allah azza wa jal. Yet, it's incomplete without the practicing. It's incomplete without the embodiment of the knowledge that one takes from Allah azza wa jal and from the Prophet of Allah alayhi salatu. So I wouldn't want anyone who attends to be like these people that come and they don't know anything. They don't know what their rights are. They don't know what. One time we went and the lady goes, oh, they had a marital dispute. I don't want anyone to be the boss of me. I was like, are you serious? Why'd you get married for? Go do whatever you want. You don't want anyone to be in charge of you as a female. It's clear in the deen. That's our deen. You don't like it, go somewhere else. That's what Allah said. Well, I don't want anyone. She's mutahajjiba and hajj and all these things. And if you speak to her, you'd say, oh, she's mashallah. It's the simplest thing about her own marriage she doesn't know. Or the brother, he thinks it's halal to beat his wife. Like, what's going on? What's the story? How does that work out when someone, they go have the beard, they don't drink, they eat halal, the houses, and there's no TV in their house, no music, none of the things that we would consider extreme. None of those things are there, but unfortunately, the reality in terms of the spiritual progression isn't there either. That's a person that the ulama call mahroom. That's a person, when a'udhu billah, that's been, they've been in a sense, rejected. Not really, but in a sense. Mahroom means they weren't, it was like they saw the food and couldn't eat. It's like they did the thing but didn't have the feeling of it. The blind person looking at the stars. The deaf person listening to music. You know, mahroom, it's, yeah, in a way. It's not quite that bad because they're Muslims, they're fasting and they're praying and they're doing all those things, but they're mahroomin. Like haram is the sanctity of Allah. So they're not allowed to enter that private zone where they come close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They're on the periphery, they're on the outside. Oh, yeah. They're not allowed to enter. Allah hasn't allowed them to enter because they're not doing the right things, no matter what the intention is. No matter what the intention is. The intention is beneficial. When we have it, that's good, alhamdulillah. It's an excellent thing to have a good intention. But to be truly beneficial, the intention has to be tied with actions that are done in the right way. I can sit on my head in the corner with my hands and my feet in the air and say, oh, I'm praying and my intention is to pray. Alhamdulillah, it's okay. But I'm not going to get inside this. I'm not going to get inside the sanctity. I'm not going to get in that sacred zone that's close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so for a person that's giving up their time and a person that is staying away from all these things and making these other sacrifices in life, if we're not going somewhere near that, occasionally at least entering, then our approach, our methodology in terms of how we're benefiting from the knowledge that we're getting is deficient. And if that's the case, we need to look at ourselves. Each one of us needs to take stock of his or her own accounts and say, what is it that I'm doing or not doing that's preventing me from it? It's a prevention. Mahroom, they're prevented. That's preventing me from entering into that sanctity, that sacred zone, that place where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepts the elect, ibadin mukhlasin, the elect of His servants. Otherwise, why are we seeking knowledge? It's for halal haram. Okay, it's a start. But what's after that? We're going to stay that way for how many years? No one will be satisfied. If you wore the clothes that 10 years ago you had, would you be satisfied? I wouldn't be, even though I'm still wearing the same clothes, but I still wouldn't be. No one would. No one would have the same car that you had 10 years ago. What about the same phone? No way. No way. Same iPad, same watch, same computer, same shoes, even same friends in some circumstances. No one would be satisfied. How come it is that we're satisfied, or people are satisfied with their spiritual progression? Oh, yeah, that's it, I'm sweet, done. I've clocked in, now I'm going to clock out. That's a person selling themselves short when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's a person, harama nafsa, they've prevented themselves. It's not Allah's prevented them. Mahroom doesn't mean Allah does not prevent anyone who truly wants and who truly seeks to reach Him subhanahu wa ta'ala. But it's their own actions have prevented themselves. And we don't want to be amongst those people, particularly if we're people who have been seeking knowledge consistently for a period of time. You know, if we're not seeing the Prophet of Allah in our dreams every once in a while, then whose sharia are we seeking? If we don't have taladdud bil ibadah, if when we worship Allah, when we're praying, when we're reading Qur'an, when we're making dhikr, that we don't feel something sweet, we don't feel something extraordinary, something otherworldly, then what am I really doing? If when I go away from haram, if I don't feel elevated in status, if I don't feel illuminated in my spirit, in my soul, then what am I playing at? What's the way that I'm doing things? How is it relevant to my life? If it's that I don't love to go to Allah and hear the things that belong to Allah and the Prophet of Allah ﷺ, and that I've got a yearning and a drive for it, and if I miss out on it, I'm shattered, I'm devastated. More than missing out if my friends gather at some place, cafe, somewhere at a function and I don't go there. If those types of feelings and those types of emotions and those types of dafa'at, those types of hormonal states, if you want to put it that way, my chemical balance in my body isn't somewhere, sometimes, occasionally, regularly leaning to that, then I've got to look at myself. I've got to take a long, hard look at myself and take, as I said, account of my stock. What is it that I truly want in this life? What is my goal? What's my motivation? What attitude have I got have I implanted in myself? And is that attitude making me a successful servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Is it allowing me to reach the higher ranks of the elect of Allah Azza wa Jal? Is that even in my intention in the first place? So if those types of things aren't happening, then unfortunately, Qutub al-Irshad, Imam al-Haddad, he's a Qutub. He's the highest of the awliya in his time. He's giving us these things and we're not really benefiting from it. Who are we going to benefit from? When are we going to start to benefit? Yeah, alhamdulillah, I'm young, and when I get married and when I have kids and when alhamdulillah, tamam. Where's that person going to be? Who's that person that's going to marry? Who are they going to marry? What's the personality and the character of that individual that I think I'm going to be when I get married? And if I'm planning to grow later, what if the person I marry doesn't want to grow? What's going to happen to me then? What's going to happen to me? What's going to be my nameen ultimately with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And the knowledge that I've got, that I've learnt, how have I applied it in my life? How has it affected me in my life? How has it made me change? How have I thought about it during my daily life? And if that's not happening with me when a'udhu billah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then I've got to question my intentions. I've got to question my motivations. I've got to question my attitude. I've got to question my methodology about how I'm doing things. Am I just going through life? That's it. I'm a passenger in a train, don't care, don't know where the train's going. When it stops, I'll get off and get on another train. Is that what's happening in my life? Because the things we're getting from Imam al-Haddad, they're more valuable than gold. They're more valuable than air. How valuable is air for us? This is more valuable than that. And if we can't take that and benefit from it, istithmar, if we can't invest it and gain profit from it, then we're in a worse state than we thought we could possibly be. Tell us what we did last week. Finish us off.
Well, last week the Imam also said that...
just give us the three types of things. And then
he said that some people, religious people, they fall prey to ambiguities in the deen because they're not really well versed in the what's haram. That's like one of the first things that they should do. And then he goes into the three parts. But even in the first part, he explains that people are unaware of three different types of people in that first part.
So that means three types of dealings that you have with three types of individuals. No.
Yeah. So the first one is the first type of deal is between you and a person that you've already inquired about, and you know that they're good and they're virtuous. So there's no problem taking from them gifts or accepting their food. There's no.
All right, that's the first type of person. You've checked them out. You know what they're about. You know what their attitudes are like. You know what their methodology is like. Just like we were just saying. You know what their intentions are like. And you know practically how they live their lives. You know they buy food from the right places. They don't steal when they buy and sell. They don't lie to people. Oh, wallahi, this cost this much and this and that. They don't do that sort of stuff. All right. So when they give you something, when you eat from their food, you can trust them. To Allah Azza wa Jalla. Now,
the second type are those people you have no idea. You have nothing good or bad about them. So when it comes to them, if they're going to give you something, or if you're going to deal with them, then you should inquire about them before, as gently as you can. If you know that it's going to cause any harm, then it's best not to inquire.
All right, best not to be involved either. So that's the second type. You just never met them, you just don't know what they're about, don't know where they get. So this is, someone asked a question about, like I want to do this type of thing. I want to have wada in my life. And for example, one of the good examples is hand slaughtered chicken or whatever. And they were saying that it's a fitna if I don't get involved. But we're making the fitna if that's the case. We have to have tact when we deal with people. We have to have hikmah, wisdom when we deal with people. So if someone brings something to you that's meat, say, oh look, I'm on a vegetarian diet this week, or today, or whatever the case is at the moment. Oh look, I'm putting on weight or whatever it is you want to say, so you don't talk about the thing. That's rifq, that's gentleness. So you've got to divert, instead of, unfortunately, us Aussies, we're just straightforward, which is a good thing in some circumstances. But when it comes to people's feelings, it's not a good thing. You have to, it's not good to break the heart. Allah says in the Hadith Qudsi that Allah would rather have the Kaaba broken, the house of Allah, the Kaaba, than to hurt the feelings of a Muslim. We don't hurt Muslims' feelings. We don't do those types of things. So that takes tact. That takes wisdom to be able to do that. Oh yeah, and then, or eat something else. But, some of your friends who are close to you, who know you, or relatives or whatever, you may be able to explain that to them, and it doesn't ruin the relationship between you and that individual. But it's about wisdom and how you deal with them in regards to what's halal and haram. So that wisdom is a difficult thing to kind of learn, because it's not, our culture's not like that. Like the old people, they would say, oh, if they wanted, for example, a drink, well, yeah, it's been very dry lately, hasn't it? That's what they oh, it hasn't rained for a while. It's, we're short and then people would understand that they're referring to water. Okay, so water, they're saying that you drink, they'd go get them a drink. That's the type of people they were. Now, if we were to say that, someone would say, yeah, no worries, yeah, oh, it hasn't, yeah, look, oh, it's, whatever, blah, 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 blah. All right, so it's a different ideology, it's a different, and then, once you have that wisdom, people accept it, they don't challenge you, but we're not used to doing it, so we mitlabbik, they say, we panic. We panic. Oh, what should I do? What? But you've got to have your excuse. If you're a panic type, you have to have your excuses set up at the beginning. So when you go, you know what you're going to say. You know how you're going to deal with the situation. Now, the third type?
Yeah, the third type, for someone they're 100% the wrongdoers. So they might be usurers, or they're known to be involved with haram dealings, or they don't care about where they get the money from, whether it's halal or haram or not. And the Imam says it's completely stay away from these people as much as you can.
All right. So they're the people that some of the examples we gave: the Centrelink Reuters, the people that they sell cars that are bodgy. Whatever they do, they lie when they buy and sell and trade. They work in the haram industry. They sell alcohol, they sell pork, they sell whatever it is. That's their only main industry. Or they sell food that's halal, and it's not, for a fact it's not halal. So you have to know these things for a fact. Or I heard from someone. That's not good enough evidence. So there's one thing that we take as, oh, I think this is this, but in reality it's not. Okay? Like for example, for a man and a woman who are not married to each other, who could be married to each other, to sit in a room, okay, with no one else around, and the door closed, okay, and the door's made of glass, and they're sitting in a public office, is that khalwa? Is that haram or not haram? Answer. Is it haram or not haram? In your mind, what do you think? Do you think it's permissible?
Are there people around?
No, there's no one around. It's a public office. Haram. You think it's haram? Why? Okay. What else? Who else has an opinion?
Probably somebody else was coming. If somebody was to come past and they couldn't accuse they couldn't have any accusation.
All right. Who else thinks something?
Wouldn't the third person be the shaitan?
Yeah, probably. So, okay, what else do you think?
But then again, the glass is door's glass.
So you can't have both. It's one or the other. You're in the situation, you're going to leave or you're going to stay. You can't half of you leave and half of you stay. You have to be decisive in these situations. Sure, what else do you think? So I'm just asking you what you think. What do you think? Is it good or bad? Huh? What do you think?
Not good.
Not good. All right. So I think maybe it's not good either. But what does the Allah say? What does the Prophet say? That's the question. That's what it comes down to. It's not what, I think. It's not what I understand or what my limited understanding. It's what Allah. So if it's a public place, right, people coming and going and they can be seen, it's not a khalwa. But if it's a private place and the door's locked, it's a khalwa. Or they're secluded without anyone being able to access them. So if it's their house, of course it's a khalwa. But if it's an office, if it's here, for example, when people can come and go, it's not a khalwa. So it's not what I think. It's not what you think. It's what Allah and the Prophet of Allah have legislated. And the ulama have explained to us. So that's what we have to understand. That's what the Imam was talking about, that people don't know. So we're learning these things so we can implement them in our lives, inshallah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when it comes to deciding if someone is, we can eat their food and take their gifts, it's not what I think. It's what is the reality of the situation. Not what so-and-so said. Alright, so-and-so said something to you. Said that, look, that bloke, he buys his meat from somewhere that's not halal. Oh, okay. I can't just go around and say, oh, that person A's meat is not halal. Alright, someone's giving me a lead. It's called a lead. Someone's giving me a lead into, or some here. I've got to make my investigations now. I can't just take that that knowledge is, that's it, etched in stone. No, that's what it is. That's what so-and-so said. How many times have you heard it? So-and-so. Who's so-and-so? All right? Investigations. How are you going to investigate? Either you speak to the person or you go to the butcher. We used to do that. Oh, I'll come to your question. No, follow, go.
If you think that it's going to hurt their feelings, then it's best to go to the butcher.
Go to the butcher. We used to do that. Back in the day when halal first started, we used to go ring the abattoir. We used to go to the butcher. Where do you get your meat from? He'd go like Cootamundra. All right, ring Cootamundra, find out who this is how far we used to go. Ring the slaughterman. Who's the slaughterman? Ring. Before they had free mobile phones, it cost a fortune. There was no unlimited back then. Ring, find out who the slave, brother, how you going? Yeah, so-and-so, I'm from Sydney, blah, blah. Make a relationship with him. Call him back next week. Brother, do you send meat to this butcher? Yeah. How many lambs do you send a week? 40. Hey, no worries. Go to the butcher. Hey, where did you get your meat from? Oh, yeah. How many lambs do you sell a week? 100. Hold on. It's happened. Everything I'm telling you happened to me, personally speaking. All right, what? Can you trust what that butcher says? Even if he gets the other 60 from a halal place. War'an, right? That's it, he's off the list. You can't lie and get your rizq. He didn't tell me, oh, did you get it from this place? Yeah, Cootamundra. Did you get it from anywhere else? No, Cootamundra. Because he knows 100% the brother who slaughters down there, everyone knows him actually. Oh, okay, no worries. Ring the other slaughterman. Then there's a guy in Ningen. Ring the guy in Ningen. How many do you send to this butcher? 20. Go to the butcher. How many do you sell a week? 20. There's true stories I'm telling you. These are all true stories. There's not saying that we made up. That's the investigations you have to make. So all this blah 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 blah. Why do we spend on the vices of the tongue? We spent like 2 months, 3 months nearly, because that's what's going on. Everyone thinks they know everything because they pray. No, it should make you more humble. It should make you more humble that you pray. You wear hijab, it should make you more humble. You learn the deen, you're talib al-ilm, it should make you more humble. You're on a sayyid, you're on a path to Allah, it should make you more humble. Why are you, this person's this person's that person's this person's that. What's your responsibility? You're not responsible for everyone. You're not responsible for yourself. So make the investigations that put you at ease. Not put everyone else at ease, but that's when I believe the weakness of human nature. We want everyone to be like us so it's easy for us. That's why the different Dini peoples, the different thoughts people have, the different the different ideologies that Muslims have. This guy's Wahhabi, this guy's Salafi, this guy's Sufi, this guy's Ash'ari, this guy. That's why do we use those words? Well, scholars use them to identify a particular philosophy so they can determine what's right and wrong. But why do we as non-scholars use it? Because if you're like me, you're good, because it's easy for me to practice them. If you're not like me, you're wrong and you're evil. If you're ISIS, if you're not like me, we're going to kill you. You know what? ISIS wants to kill us. Oh, we're democratic Muslims, we agree with the democratic system, so they want to kill us. That's true. That's part of their ideology. So you have to invest your time in your deen. How do you think it is that a person practices deen, not 100%, but deen overwhelms their life? It's not because they show up to a class every once in a while, or because they go hijab shopping twice a year, or because they don't use the razor blade 3 times a week. That's not how it's done. It's by immersing oneself in all the people sending emails. We used to say how many times, it was before emails, how many hours we used to spend on the phone ringing Arnott's and all these companies. What do you put in your products? What do you put? And then we found out that they just keep changing. We said, we're not going to eat that anymore. Sorry, no more Tim Tams. There's a question mark. So there really isn't anything, probably it's not haram. But wara, that's wara. If you're not chasing these things and making your own personal investigations and putting your own heart at ease, who are you going to rely on? On the day of judgment you say, Ya Allah, that person. It's not going to wash. And the more you do it, it got to a stage where we used to go to the abattoir in Camden and we used to bid on the sheep. I'm not joking. This is how we used to do it. Take a day off, bid on the sheep, get the sheep, slaughter them ourselves, and the chicken, and slaughter it ourselves, and pigeons or whatever they used to sell. roosters and ducks and all. He used to slaughter it, chop it up, put it in the freezer, and because we couldn't find anyone back then. Now, alhamdulillah, things are a lot different with the different. But back then, there wasn't, you couldn't trust anyone. Hardly any of the butchers would, you couldn't trust them. You couldn't trust them. It's a business in the end. So you have to make those investigations. Yes, it was hard, but that's what made us come onto the deen. That's what made us devote our time to worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's what made us stay away from those other things that took us away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's what gave, alhamdulillah, the brothers that were doing those things, that connection. You're telling me those people that do that now and they're not part of the elect of Allah? Of course they are. They know what they're buying. And then one of the brothers, he never used to slaughter the sheep. He used to live it 40 days. Because I want to know what this sheep eats every day. And the lambs and whatever else. 40 days. He used to feed it. After 40 days, he only slaughter after that. So, I'm not talking to you in, the time of the Sahaba. I'm talking to you like 10 years ago, 15 years ago. It's not the time of the Sahaba. It's here. So I'm not saying you need to do all those things. But what I'm saying is that if you don't own it, and if you don't sacrifice something for it, and if you're not sincere and dedicated to it, where are you going? Now it's easy to be hijab. We know when we used to dress like people used to laugh at us. Muslims, I'm not talking about non-Muslims. Non-Muslims were alright before September 11. And even still, they're kind of alright now. Muslims used to hate it. Oh, why are you dressed like that for? Oh, you're too young. Oh, this, oh, that, oh, this, oh, that. What are you praying for? We need to pray for. Muslims. These got it easy because everyone's doing it now. It's trendy to be, everyone goes to Hajj and that's it. They come back, they have the zamzam on the plate and they have 10 tasbihs, they give them out and the dates. It's like a system. You have to have this thing. They come back. It's like, I'm a Hajj now. I've got status. What Hajj? When we used to talk about Hajj, it was like, why are you wasting money on that? Why don't you buy a house? So the fact that there's more people makes it harder, not easier, really. It makes it easier amongst the people, but it makes it harder with Allah. Because I'm just part of the flock now. I can just, duck my head in there and no one sees me. Oh, let's go, come. Oh, they're on deen, sweet, we're on deen. They're off deen, yeah, sweet, we're off deen. But if you want to be the elect, you got to prove it to Allah. You got to show something to Allah. You got to say, Ya Allah, this is what I'm going to do, Ya Allah, so that you can make me of those people that. And we're talking about an eternal reward here. We're not talking about, no worries, pat on the back, see you later, or a certificate you put on the wall, you never look at it again. And even if you put it on the wall, you put it in your folder, your resume folder, and that's it. Never see it again. I've still got my one from year 12. Put all the things in there. It's chucked, I don't even know where it is half the time. What's that? No, but when you get that reward from Allah, it's forever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever. And what the Imam is telling us, no one's going to tell you this. He's condensed the whole Sharia. He's condensed what's in the Qur'an and condensed what's in the Hadith and condensed what he's learned from his Mashaykh after Shaykh all the way back to the Prophet of Allah and he's just put it on a platter for us. And yet, what's the effect of that on our lives? No one's going to tell you what this man's telling you. No one's going to give you the insight this man's giving you. And what he's saying, his words, they're so relevant for our time, it's not even it's written 300 odd years ago. So relevant for our time, it's not even funny. Like there's one chapter, one paragraph he's got in there in this chapter. We need to stay 10 weeks on it, just to comprehend what the Imam's trying to tell us. Yeah, it's just flying right over. It's not even going in one ear and out the other. It's just, why? It's because I haven't made a commitment. I haven't made a commitment. So hey, I come to class and this and that and whatever, I wear hijab and I pray, I've got a beard and I'm in Jama'ah. But I haven't made a real commitment. I'm kind of like, when it suits me, I'll do it. And when it doesn't suit me, I won't do it. When I'm around the people that do it, I'll go hard. When I'm around the people that won't do it, I'll just cruise. When I'm by myself, I want to do what I want to do. That's not a commitment. No one would accept that. Imagine if your husband or wife was like that. Imagine. Straight away you have the Sheikh's number on speed dial. They don't have speed dial anymore, do they? Favourites.
Yeah,
favourites.
Yeah.
Right? Favourites. No, he came and then he went and then he saw and then he didn't saw and he promised he was going to do and he didn't do and that and I want a divorce. What? That's exactly what? What if it's your mum or dad weren't treating you the way you want to be treated or you... What's this mum Complain, my mum, my dad. What about your best friend? Easy to get rid of him. Just, what's that thing? Dislike him or whatever it is. Unfriend, ain't it? Block, isn't it? Block, and that's it, it's over. Done deal. So how can we expect that if we would treat those relationships around us in that manner, that we shouldn't treat Allah in that same manner? So those relationships where, someone doesn't do the right thing by us, we'll oust them straight away, it's over. What about Allah? We're not doing the right thing by the thing that Allah has given us. In other words, the favour that Allah has bestowed upon us. Someone else may not be in that scenario. In accordance with the favours that Allah has given me and the bounties that Allah has given me, have I reciprocated? Have I given back to Allah in that same manner? Allah has committed to me fully. Have I committed to Allah fully? Idkhulu bisilmi kafa, He says subhanahu wa ta'ala. Enter completely into Islam. It's not like a And then we wonder, why? How come? Why not? And I'm not saying just go drop everything and do it. No, I'm saying commit. Between you and Allah, it doesn't worry me. It does worry me, but it's not going to affect me in that way. But it will affect yourselves and those who want to travel. The commitment has to be there. And then there's Islam and Istislam. Constant renewing of that commitment, constant submitting of oneself to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We all make mistakes. We all make a promise to ourselves and to Allah and we don't fulfill it. When all of us do that. All of us, when our egos play tricks on us and we do things, and the shaitan makes us saying we do things we wish we hadn't done. So what? So what? So that you or your friend had that issue and you made a mistake and you apologise to your friend, right? You're going to meet him at 7 o'clock at the cake shop and whatever, and you're going to buy him a chocolate cake, whatever, and you didn't show up. You would expect from your friend that if you apologise and said, look, I'm really sorry, I'll make it up to you. Would you expect your friend to diss you, or would you expect your friend to forgive you? Forgive. So why Allah, the most forgiving, the most merciful, why won't He forgive? But the reason why we can't do that is because we haven't committed in the first place. It's just it's a nice thing to do, Islam. Yeah, I kind of like to be with Allah. I kind of like to be, close to. I kind of like it. It would be cool. That's not how it is, though. That's not how it is. Allah created the earth, and Allah created the stars, the sun, the moon, the universe. All musakharin, all of them are subservient, are made so we can exist. And you want to just go half-hearted with that, with Allah? It's not going to work. There has to be a full commitment. And what I'm saying to you is the start of the commitment. Whatever comes later is later. But the start has to be there. If I'm not committed to Allah Azza wa Jalla in that way, there's no way I'm going to get the benefit. So I want to run in the Olympics as a sprinter. If I don't train every day and I don't do what's his name? Usain Bolt. Here's an example. All the coaches and all the expert runners, so the guy could run faster. And then when they came to him, Michael Johnson is a former champion, 400 metre. He changed the way techniques are run when it comes to running. He ran totally different to everyone, and his style looked a bit weird. Everyone started running like that after because he kept on. So he approached him. He said, "Look, I'll help you to run faster." He said, "I'm not interested." This is a true story. He said, "I'm not interested." He said, "I want to enjoy life." In other words, he wants to party, cocaine, drugs. That's what he said. Women, I didn't say it. You can look it up on YouTube. It's there to be seen. Right? He doesn't want to do that. But he's still the fastest in the world. But he's not living up to his full potential. He still can go faster. He still can run faster than that. So the example gets thrown back to us. Our spiritual potential is unlimited. There's no cap on it, except the cap we place on it. So when are we going to unscrew that cap? When are we going to say, Ya Allah, I've committed to you. Ya Allah, you are what I want. Ya Allah, allow me to be and follow the Prophet of Allah, be like and follow the Prophet of Allah. When's that day going to come? Yeah, I'm young, alhamdulillah. Usama bin Zayd, he was 17 years of age. He was the Amir of the last army, the last campaign the Prophet put together. Who is the Amir on? Sayyidina Umar Allah warda anhu. He was the Amir, he was 17. No one makes excuse for age except someone who's immature. Sorry about that. I don't want to pick on anyone individually. Only people that make excuses about age are people who are immature, childish, babies, spoiled, brats, in other words. They're the only people that make excuses about age. The people who are true seekers, the people who truly want to achieve in life in any aspect, they don't leave that as an excuse. Yeah, that might be the reason they didn't achieve, but they don't make that the excuse. 17 years of age, when the Prophet died, alayhi salatu wasalam, sallallahu ala rasulillah, every time Sayyidina Umar used to see Usama bin Zayd, he used to go, Assalamu alayka ya Amiri. He said, I'm not ya Amir, you're the Amir al-Mu'mineen. You say, yeah, but the Prophet put you, Amir, on that campaign, and I was part of that campaign. So the Prophet put you, Amir, on me. 17 he was, Osama bin Zayd. So age is not an excuse. It's not. Everyone else makes that excuse because they don't want to do anything. No offence, I've had plenty of young people come to my office as a solicitor and they're hopeless. We weren't like that. We weren't like that. When we were young, 7 o'clock, that's it. Doesn't matter where we were, what we were doing, what happened to us. One time we were out in the country, the car broke down, we came back in our RMA, came in the bus, this and that, slept 2 hours, we're at work, that's it. We gave a word. These days, they say, oh look, I want to come help you work for 2 days, for whatever. Every Wednesday from 10 to 4. No worries. Prepare everything. Wednesday, 9:59, no phone call, a message, oh, I can't make it today. What are you talking about? You made a commitment. All right, you're sick, whatever, but if you're sick, you're going to know at 7 o'clock in the morning. You're going to know at whatever time it was that you're sick. Let me know then. No, 9:59. And not 1 and not 2 and not 10. One of the guys is a solicitor, he's going to be a solicitor soon. Can't even punch the holes into the paper. They're all, you know how you got to punch it in the middle so you can put it into the binder? No, they're punched right in the end, so all it needs a little bit of a hit and then the paper's full. Man, I can train a chimp to do that when I was a billet, for example. You know, I can 12-year-old, 10-year-old, 8-year-old could do that. All you have to do is push the papers all the way into the little machine thing, whatever it's called. Hole puncher. No. Why? There's no commitment. They don't want to excel. And don't think the ulama, unfortunately, are like the ulama that we see today. The ulama, the scholars, not just, you know, they were fat guts and glasses and their hands are all soft like pillows. That's not how the ulama were. Imam Shafi'i, he was a master archer. Al-Izz ibn Abdul Salam, he was a master swordsman. They were the strongest and toughest. They could handle the most difficult situations. They didn't used to eat. They did all these things. Because once a person understands the methodology of excellence, that excellence pervades all aspects of their life. So everything they do, they become excellent at it. So that's the type of attitude that we want. That's the type of attitude that Allah wants. That's the type of attitude the Prophet of Allah ﷺ had. And that's the type of attitude that Imam al-Haddad is talking about. And until we're ready to make that commitment, you will not get there. It's a guarantee. You cannot get there. It's impossible. لا تنالوا البر حتى تنفقوا مما تحبون. You won't reach. Bir is everything that's good. You won't be able to get it. You won't reach it until you spend of that which you love. And in the essence, it's money. But it's not that. Today, it's ourselves. We love ourselves. Why doesn't the sister that we spoke to that has the wife, that was the wife and doesn't want a boss over it? Who's she following? Who's she really worshipping? Doesn't want to follow the dad, right? Doesn't want to listen to the mum, doesn't want to be subservient, whatever, under the authority of, so we can have the politically correct language. Doesn't want to be under the authority of mum, doesn't want to be under the authority of dad, doesn't want to be under the authority of brother, doesn't want to be under the authority of husband, doesn't want to be under the authority of the brother, of his older brother, of his dad. Who's he under the authority of in the end? Who? Nafs or the shaitan, one of the two. What's that? That's what our society is telling us. That's what we're being told. Who? No, you're an individual. You've got every right to... Individual what? You're an individual, but yeah, I'm with you. But an individual what? An individual human. So that means you're not alone. You've got other humans around you. You're an individual citizen. Alright? It means you can't do whatever you want. There are other citizens around. Individual man. There are other men and other women. Individual woman. There are other women and other men. You're not just an individual Absolutely. You're an individual something. You're an individual something. So that ideology of, that's what's killing us. We're not ready to akhda, meaning to be subservient. We're not ready to do that because it's all about me. And then and that's the other thing, tumuhat bil hayat, the hopes, aspirations and dreams in life. When I do that, then I'll be sweet. I'll be able to take care of myself because I'm a big shot. That's how I've been. It doesn't work that way. That's not how life works. That's not how life works. That's not how the deen works. That's not how returning to Allah works. We're ibad. We're owned. We're property. We're the property of Allah. And our guide is the Prophet of Allah ﷺ. And the Imam showing us how to manifest that, how to embody that in our lives. And these things that we're discussing, inshallah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in 6 weeks' time it's going to be Ramadan, inshallah. I implore each and every one of you to consider these things. I implore each and every one of you to seriously consider where you're sitting with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And to seriously take account and take stock of your situation. So that if you can't do it now because the shaitan's too strong and we're too weak and whatever else, you'll be able to do it in Ramadan, inshallah. But one needs to prepare oneself for that. I'm not going to come on the 29th or 30th of Shawwal and say, oh, that's it, tomorrow Ramadan. It's not going to happen that way. And 6 weeks is actually the perfect time. 40 days out. It's a bit more than 40 days. Perfect time for one to reconsider, say, Ya Allah, I'm wrong. Have you ever think to yourself, I don't need to answer. Have you ever sat to yourself in a dua, in a salat, in a sujood, and said, Ya Allah, everything I'm doing is wrong, help me. If one hasn't done that, that means one is thinking they're in control of themselves. It's not. Allah is in control of you. If we haven't done that once in our life, ever, oh, Ya Allah, I don't know how to do business. Okay, that's one thing. Ya Allah, I don't know how to have a relationship with the opposite gender. That's one thing. Ya Allah, I don't know how to be good with my mum or my sister. That's one thing. But absolutely, Ya Allah, I'm hopeless, Ya Allah. I've got nothing to offer you, Ya Allah. If we haven't done that once in our lives, ever, then where do we stand with Allah? What are we saying to Him? Look, Ya Allah, you just hang out, all right? When I need you, I'll call on you. What kind of a that's like, no offense, a terrible example, but that's like the dog that you feed, you call the dog doesn't come. And in Australia, it doesn't matter, but in other countries, out comes the stick and that dog's going to cop a beating. Why? I fed that dog. I raised that dog. I look after, shelter, whatever. It's a terrible, like I said, terrible example, but you get what I'm trying to say. Allah gave us all these things and we're saying, just hang out. Don't worry, I got this one, Ya Allah. And then later on, oh, Ya Allah, help. That's not how it works. Allah's in control of everything, whether we think that's the case or not. But it's the pervasive ideology and philosophy that I'm in control of myself, I'm in charge of myself, I'll determine my own destiny, I know what's best for me. What are you talking about? Why did Allah send the Qur'an then? Why did He send the Qur'an? Why did He send the Prophet of Allah ﷺ? Why? Because we're fine? Then we said, alright, good, go. He didn't, but subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then we wonder why I'm in the state that I'm in, the condition that I'm in. I wonder why the ummah is in the condition that it's in. Everyone wants to be the head honcho. Everyone wants to be the chief rucker. Everyone wants to be the whatever you want to call it. So, unless we seriously take stock of what we're doing, and we seriously take account of our actions and our thoughts and our philosophy and our mentality and our ideology and our attitude, we're not going to change. We're not going to change. It's just impossible. It's not going to happen. So as I said, I implore you between now and the beginning of Ramadan to look at those factors that we've discussed and that you've heard, inshallah. To look at those things seriously and make your own decision about where you stand with Allah. You don't need me to do it for you. You don't need your friend to do it for you. You don't need to find an app to do it for you. You can do it yourself. Allah is there, especially if you're sincere and you give time to it. Sacrifice from your other things to give time to it, inshallah azza wa jal, so you can reach that nearness to Allah and be one of the elect. Wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammad wa alihi wa sallam.